just let in. I'm just taking you all in.
Let the peeps in. Duh, 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 duh.
It's like you should have that song, Who Let the Dogs Out? Okay, I'm showing my age a bit there. Hello to everyone on the live stream as well. I can't see you, but I see we are live streaming, so hello to you.
If anyone is interested, I'm very happy to put the Zoom link down there in the chat as well. But feel free to drop your locations. And actually, because today is more about facilitators and coaches, you can also drop what your role is. Are you like a business coach? Are you a consultant? Are you a yoga teacher or a dance teacher? An intimacy coach, perhaps? I don't know. So you can drop those into the chats on the various streams, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, the live page, or here in Zoom. We'll get started in like 30 seconds or so.
Okay. So for those that are here, I'm curious to know how many sessions you've attended so far, because today's the last day, isn't it, Steve? I think we have maybe a couple more sessions.
Yeah,
today and then
last day, and there's like a bonus one in German, then one other one tomorrow. My co-founders of Authentic Relating, but other than that, last day. How sad.
Yeah, so I'd love to know, like, how many have you had a favorite session? Is there a session that I've missed that you definitely say, hey, this was a needle mover? So I'd love to hear if there are any sessions that really that you found great or useful. So we've got counselors, we've got coach, dance and movement teacher, and body worker. Great. Nice mix. Business coach, first session today. Well, welcome, Sophia. We've seen 4 so far. Okay, yeah, I had to work. Okay. Based in Paris, life coach from Argentina. Hello, Argentina. 3 sessions, very useful, great. Somatic coach, counselor, great. So we have a really lovely mix. Hi, Ali from Spain, yoga teacher. Love watching everyone coming in. Okay, intimacy coach, great. Gosh, we have such a diverse group in here. It's lovely to see what so many different people are getting up to and how you're all helping the world in many different ways. So welcome everybody. Drama therapist, nice. First, sexual health nurse, yes, we need more of you. We need more of you. First session, okay, great. Well, welcome. Even if this is your first session, it doesn't matter. It's just a curiosity for me. Great, lovely. And welcome to those on live stream. If you've only just tuned in, I'm just having people put in the chat, what they're doing, whether they're a coach or they're here for personal reasons, what kind of coach or yoga teacher, and also, what session this is for you, just out of curiosity for me. And if there are any great sessions that you loved, I'd love to know the name. And I think we'll be getting started in just a moment. Welcome. And if you're here in the Zoom room, there's no pressure, obviously, but it would be lovely if you put your camera on so I can see you. It makes facilitating so much more connecting. So if you're feeling brave, please feel free to put your camera on. And if you don't want to, of course, that's fine too. But it's always nice for me to see some friendly faces. Let's see. Dance and play somatics teacher, great. Conflict from Christina. Yeah, Christina's a wonderful coach. Drama facilitator, second session, great. Planning to catch up on the recordings. First session, working with couples in New Zealand, wonderful. Great. Anti-gym, Italy, 4th session. Lovely. Oh, and more people are putting their cameras on. Yay. And sorry for those on live stream. Just to be clear, I can't see you. Steve will, however, be sharing all of your comments, but unfortunately, I can't see you. Okay, your hidden desires. Great. that was a good session. I'm just reading the comments. If anyone can't see the comments, I'm reading the comments, and they said hidden desires had a nice impact. Hello to Berlin. I wonder if it's sweltering in Berlin like it is here in Italy. It's really sweltering. Wonderful.
All right, so I'm going to get things started. I was just having a little bit of problems over on the live stream. I'm not quite sure what's happening there on the live page. I'm going to post a link to our YouTube live stream there just for now. Apologies if people can't see us there.
We're getting started in just a second, as soon as Steve sorts out, so everyone can make sure that they can tune in. He doesn't want anyone to miss anything. Hello to Umbria and in Tuscany. Nice to see you, Marie. And let's see if there are any others that I missed here. Well, maybe while Steve is doing that, I know Steve hasn't introduced who I am officially yet or what we'll be doing in this session. However, I think some of you know what the session may be about. So I'd be curious to know, what are you hoping to take away from this session? What are you hoping to learn? Or is there a specific tool or something that you're really hoping to gain? And then hopefully I'll be speaking to that. And if not, then maybe I can answer it directly. But if there's something that you're know that you'd like to take away from this session, or that you're curious about, what brought you here? What brought you to this session? And if it's just because this was the time that you had free and, you could tune in, that's absolutely fine too. You don't have to have an ulterior motive. But again, it's always nice for me to hear, why you're here, what you're hoping to receive from this. Time and curiosity. Okay. Good. Thank you. And the name of the session. Okay. Oh, I don't know if that's a question you're asking, what's the name of the session, or it's because of the name of the session you hear, but the name of the session is the 5 types of sexual people you're likely to coach. I'm paraphrasing that, but I'm pretty sure that was the full name of the session. We had a few different names going for this session, so I think that's the one we landed on for it. And hopefully that'll make sense in a few minutes what that's about, these 5 types once we officially get started.
All right, so I'm going to start because I think I finally got the live stream sorted. So welcome, people. I'm going to press record. Here we go, finally. So welcome everyone to this session. As Jamie just said, I'll introduce Jamie. She just said the title, hasn't she? So Jamie is a relationship and intimacy coach. She's a licensed erotic blueprint coach, an embodied facilitator, a senior EYP teacher. You probably saw her doing a lot of stuff on the recent EYP event if you went there, Embodied Yoga Principles. She's also the founder of the Academy for Intimacy and a co-creator of the Relationship Dojo, online courses for couples. So I'm Steve, and I'll be hosting this session. So please message me on the stream or on Zoom or YouTube, wherever you are, but about any problems that may come up. And if you're in Zoom, as Jamie said, please, we'd love it if you have your cameras on, no matter where you are, whether you're walking or in the kitchen or whatever. So, and also just bear in mind, if you're invited to speak, be aware that this is recorded and live streamed. So I've also popped a link there in the live stream in case you want to come into the Zoom room, because Jamie would probably love to see you. So also share this with anyone who would benefit from better boundaries, deeper intimacy, want more fun in their relationships. So it's never too late to share, because the replays will be available this weekend. Well, next week's too late to share, but right now is not. So I'll also put a link to the sign up page. And also a reminder that we'll announce the winner of our competition tonight at 6 p.m. UK time. So that's 1 p.m. Eastern. So anyone who tagged and shared a friend goes into the draw to win the course, which is worth $899. And every tag and every share is an extra entry. So I'll also put a link down there. So we want as many people to benefit from this live event as possible. Obviously, it doesn't go as deep as the 8-week course, where you actually get to practice it in life, practice it with small groups, peer groups, have Adam and Christina guiding you in a smaller session where everyone's there. But it will at least give you it'll give you the 80-20 of all of this relationship stuff. So if you felt unsatisfied or frustrated, or you feel lonely even in a relationship, know that it's not easy and you're not alone in doing that. So if you want to create a little bit of a better world for yourself and your partner. Know that it starts within with you, and so that's what the course is about. I'll play a little short video on that, and then we'll get going.
Have you ever found it hard to say what you're really feeling in one of your relationships?
Relationships are at the core of everything we do. Whether we're relating to a stranger, relating to our partners, it's all about relationships.
This is for you if you've ever struggled with saying what you really want or desire, communicating with your partner.
Whatever your gender, your sexual orientation, if you want to have more fulfilling relationships, then this is for you.
Learn to fully show up for yourself in every area of your life.
All right, so if you are interested, I'll put a link to that, and just know that the half price offer, the early bird, does expire after replay weekend, so you've still got time to think about that. And we've just launched a special thing that the first 100 people that buy it will also go into draw to win a free coaching session, a one-to-one session with either Christina or Mark or Patricia or Erica. So there's going to be 4 sessions available. So if you are thinking that you want to get the course, or you know that you want to get it, I'd recommend getting it now so you get to go into the draw to win one of those free sessions with one of those people that you've probably seen on this week so far. And anyway, I think it's about time that I throw over to Jamie, giving her a little bit of an intro, and we'll have a lot of fun here and probably go a little bit deep as well. So Jamie.
Thank you, Steve. And Steve, just so you know, your sound is a bit wobbly. It's I don't know, not clear, and people were mentioning it in the chat, just so I don't know if you can look at that in the background. Okay. Anyway, everybody, hello, welcome. So I'm seeing in the chat that there's some curiosity around what the session is going to be about, and what you might be able to learn either for yourself or, you know, as a coach or a therapist. But what we have here, what I'll be presenting to you, is something that everyone can use. You know, these are tools for everybody. So let's see. So I'm curious to know, how many of you here, and I'm opening my room a little bit bigger so I can see more of you. How many of you here have, if you're a professional, let's look at ourselves personally first. Let's look at ourselves in a personal realm first. And if you're a coach, that's fine too. But from the personal realm, how many of you have had either a relationship where you felt exasperated because the intimacy was lackluster? Like maybe when you first got together, there was fireworks, then I don't know, maybe after some time, the sexual intimacy dwindled. You know, if that's you, and if you feel comfortable, you can give a wave or a little meek thumbs up if you can relate to that, or you can put raising hands. Great. You can raise your hands as well. Or how many of you have ever met somebody and were with them, and you really met each other on a really intellectual level, and you know, paperwork, you know, the paper is aligned, and you look like you were really good on paper, but again, you were kind of sexually not compatible, or you felt you were, you know, not sexually compatible. And if that's you, again, or you know somebody, because all of us have friends who say, I'm not having sex anymore, or the sex isn't very good, or anything like that. And I'm with you guys, not currently, I'm not in that scenario. I used to be in that scenario, but you're not alone. And in the US alone, like, I'm not sure what our audience here is today. I don't think we have too many Americans in here today, but in the US alone, 1 out of 3 marriages are sexless. That's astounding. And those that are having sex aren't likely having that great of sex either, because I think 63% of women don't even orgasm when they're with their partners and lovers. So what I'm here to present to you today, and I'm really excited, I'm like really super excited about, this is one of my biggest tools that I use in my realm of coaching, in my realm of relating. And it's been one of the biggest needle movers in helping me understand my own sexuality, but also helping others understand their sexuality. So if any of you are here and have ever also felt I'm broken, that I'm broken thing of, because you want too much sex, you want too little sex, you don't like the sex you're having, or there's something wrong with you, and you get that feeling of brokenness. This is the thing that changed my world and changed a lot of my clients' worlds, the ones that I'm working with in the relationship field or area, really changed for them. And so I'm really excited to present this cutting edge material. And this cutting edge material is the erotic blueprints. Now, I wish I could say that I was the creator, founder, discoverer of the erotic blueprints. However, I'm not. I've trained with Jaya, and she is the one who has, through her vast experience of being a somatic sexologist over, I don't know, the last 20 to 30 years, created this system. So what the erotic blueprints are is it's basically a typing system that gives you your pathway to arousal. How many of you want to know that? Like, how many here want to know what their pathway to arousal is? Like, hands up, two hands up. And what Jaya had discovered when she was working as a somatic sexologist, what she was discovering is that when these pathways are nurtured, really great things happened. So the people or the couples, they felt turned on even when the orgasms never happened. They understood why their compatibility issues affected their relationship. Sometimes even people lost, unwanted weight. They reached states of arousal that they never experienced before. They became sexually alive, and they suddenly had a language to talk about their sexual needs and desires. Who doesn't want that, right? Who doesn't want that? So you're going to get that here today. I'm going to give you some languaging. But then she also noticed on the flip side, when these pathways were starved, the problems that ensued were people felt dissatisfied. They didn't know what was wrong with them. They lost their libido. They felt frustrated. They gained weight. They got snippy and controlling with their partners. And again, maybe some of you can relate to this personally. Maybe you're hearing yourself in either one of these, when you've been in a nourished sexual relationship or when you've been in the end of starvation. So I'll be talking about our sexuality in terms of being nourished and in starvation. And hopefully that'll make sense as we go along. And so as educators here, for anyone here who's an educator or a coach, having the knowledge of the erotic blueprints begins to help, giving you tools to help create transformation. Because unfortunately, our culture has a very limited definition of what sex is about, what arousal is, what libido is, and then how do we address these issues? How are we addressing these issues? So if you're here and you feel a little bit nervous, or even if you felt this way over the whole course, this week when you've joined, and I know this session is explicitly about our sexuality, it's okay to feel nervous and maybe a bit excited. And so what I'm going to cover today for you is I'm going to cover for you what the erotic blueprints are. I will go through and I'll tell you what each of the 5 erotic blueprints are. And within those 5 erotic blueprints, what arouses the blueprint? What's the shadow side? So each of the blueprints has a shadow side, and what feeds them. So hopefully we can get through all of those bits and pieces. And that's what I'm going to deliver to you today. So as we're going through, I want you to take some notes, or to really think about, oh, that sounds like me. I hear myself in that. I feel myself in that. And that can begin painting a picture for you. Okay, so to get into the erotic blueprints, like I said, it's basically a map, okay? And this map gives us clues on how we can best arouse ourselves, arouse someone else, and what techniques to use, and how people like to be pleasured most in the sexual realm. And you can kind of, if you've ever heard of the 5 love languages, this is like that, but for your eroticism. Okay. And so just to be clear, this is not a way to put anyone into a box. This is not to say that this is what you are, so therefore X, Y, and Z. It's nothing like that. Please view it with a bit of fluidity and openness. And just like in the 5 love languages, no two people express their erotic blueprint in the same way, even if you're the same blueprint. Okay. And that'll make sense again as we go through. And so these blueprints, just to be clear, what I love about this system is that it's both based on psychology and the somatic response a person has to various forms of stimuli. So it's not just what's happening here up in the head or what we think about our sexuality, but it's also what's happening for us in our body. So for example, if I had a client come and tell me that they had a hard time getting out of their head and into their bodies. However, when they are touched, they respond to light, barely there touch. That gives me information about their blueprint. Okay, so it's all information. So I want you to view everything I'm giving you. It's all information. There's not good, there's not bad, even the shadow stuff. It's all, nothing is bad here. And so using the erotic blueprints, it gives couples, and for you, if you're here and you're in a relationship, and even if you're not and you're dating or you're single, again, this is going to help you understand your sexual needs, your turn-ons. And what this does, again, it provides you with compassion and understanding. It's like you're becoming a Jedi Knight and you have the Force and you can anticipate where to go and what to do. And it's a different skill set that will help take you to the next level, hopefully in your sexuality. Okay, so I'm going to start telling you now about the erotic blueprints. I'm going to tell you the first erotic blueprint. And as I'm telling you about this first erotic blueprint, I want you to again start feeling into, does this sound like me? Does this not sound like me? What in just starting to have that feel. Okay, so the first one is energetic. Okay, so the energetic blueprint is, they're the kings and queens of the tease factor. The energetics really thrive on space, longing, anticipation, and they can also often have this extra sensory perception of when something is kind of off with their partners, when something emotionally is going on with their partners. They tend to be very, very sensitive people, really sensitive. And working with an energetic is a lot like a fire. Like when you start getting a fire going, it needs air. If you smother it, the fire goes out. But if you know how to give the fire plenty of space and time, it gets roaring. And so, for example, for an energetic, if you were to go to their genitals straight to their genitals, it's like pouring a bucket of cold water onto the fire. So does that sound like anyone here? Again, you can raise your hand or you can put it into the chat, or, again, if you're not feeling too shy. And men who are energetic are often the most misunderstood, because if we start looking at the framework of what society says men and women should be, a man who's energetic, people don't understand that. A lot of people don't understand that. So that's kind of the gist of what the energetic is. And so if we look at the positive side, let's look at the positive side of an energetic, the really wonderful things. First one is energetic, everybody. I'm still on energetic. So an energetic is, so again, note this down if this sounds like you. You're really very sensitive physically and emotionally. You're more likely to be able to have non-genital full body multiple orgasms. You may experience altered states in sex, or during sex. You might see colors. You might be able to go into trance-like states. Energetics tend to be more intuitive lovers, and they have the ability to connect deeply on a spiritual level. So as their partner's arousal heightens, so does theirs. Okay, so that's the energetic. Now let's look at the shadow side of an energetic, the shadow side. So you might have some of the superpowers of the energetic, and you might have some of the shadow. So shadow might be hypersensitivity that causes you to short circuit. Like if time if touch isn't timed well, you can short circuit and just be overwhelmed and like you're not in the mood anymore. if you feel that there's something off with your partner, you're not able to get into the space of arousal. And sometimes the energetic is like the person who has like big antenna, and they can get bombarded by other people's emotional stuff. And sometimes touch can be associated with pain and not pleasure. Okay, so that would be the shadow side of the energetic. Okay, so we'll get back to what feeds an energetic later. Let's just go through first and see what the others are. Okay, so the first is energetic. Okay, so if you feel like you're in the energetic camp, great. The second one, the second blueprint, is the sensual. So those who have sensual wiring love the realm of the senses. You know, it's in the name. They have a bit of tease. The tease or power factor is about being massaged or touched sensually, you know, not sexually, sensually. And our culture, unfortunately, puts most women as the sensual. And I'll tell you what the culture puts most men at, but we're not there yet. So culture thinks most women are here, but in fact, that is not the case. So with sensual wiring, it's like your whole body gets lit up when all of your senses are alight. So if the lighting is just right, if the bedroom is spotless and clean and there's not that damn sock laying on the floor that's distracting you, you know, like it's the space around you, the texture and the feel of your sheets, your clothing, the smell of your partner, all of these things are really important to a sensual. So if you go through all of your senses, that's what matters to a sensual. So a way to get the sensual to relax or arouse is kind of having the ability to get them into their body, because this one has, the sensual has the ability to get stuck in the head. So these are the sensuals are the ones that might need a hot bath or a massage to get them into their bodies. So where an energetic needs air to fuel the fire, a sensual needs good quality wood and the right ambience. That's what gets the fire going for the sensual. Okay. So, but similar to an energetic, too much, too fast, too soon, and it's going to start feeling difficult. Okay. So if we want to think again about the superpowers, let's go to the superpowers of the sensual. They live in a world rich of sensuality, sight, sound, touch, smell. You know, if any of you are familiar with Mark, he always gives this, this story about when he had this Brazilian girlfriend eating a mango in front of his mother and how it was almost embarrassing because it was just so like, it was so sensual. So that's a sensual at the heart of it. Okay. The sensual has an amazing capacity to receive physical pleasure. They have an aesthetic for beauty and creation. Their orgasms can be multi-sensory, as you can imagine, because they like all of their senses. They could orgasm from something like eating or smelling or touching something. And sensation can drop them out of their heads and give them deep, deep pleasure. Okay. And I'm just seeing in the chat, I have some of the elements, but not all. So it's okay. Like you want to feel the one that you identify most with. You might not identify with every single thing that I'm saying, but if you feel like, oh, I'm leaning really towards this way, just keep a note of it. Okay. So shadow aspects. So the shadow side of a sensual is they have a hard time getting out of their heads and into their bodies. You know, their bodies is where they derive the most pleasure, being in their body, but they can get thrown off really easy. They can be quite picky. They may have aversion to sexual fluids or other body fluids. Their orgasms may seem elusive, almost there, but then goes away again. And they sometimes have this feeling of, I'm taking too long. And so he or she must be bored. Okay. So those might be a few of the shadow aspects of a sensual. Okay. So we've had energetic and sensual. Now the third, and it's great. I see people saying, I recognize this in an X. Yes, you're gonna hear these things and say, oh my gosh, that's X, Y, and Z to a T. Oh, I wish I would have known this before. Okay, so now the third one, the third blueprint is the sexual. Now, the sexual are some of the most fun people in bed. They can be some of the most fun people in bed because of their wiring. They love sex. They love genitals. They love orgasms, and they love a bit of the naughty factor. And things are pretty straightforward for a sexual in a good way. So, for example, a lot of sexual imagery at a young age might have, contributed to the factor, wiring towards the sexual. And the sexual wiring is one of the most accepted in our culture. And therefore, the majority of the techniques and the majority of the things you see out there for peoples and couples is oriented around the sexual, the sexual blueprint. And that doesn't work for everybody. That doesn't, you show somebody some genitals and they, I can't see, I can't see that. So that's really interesting. And it's men are what culture says have to be sexual. And when a man is not in this sexual blueprint, that's when they can be shamed. You're not mad. Why aren't you, I'm standing here naked. Why don't you have a heart on, And so that's really interesting that, as a man, you have to be sexual, and as a woman, you must be sensual. So if you've heard those things, or you see any of the billboards, you look at any of the magazines, that's what culture says we have to be. So I'm not going to, there's also what we call sexual masking, where because culture says you have to be this way, you act that way, but actually underneath it all, that's not what you are. So just kind of keeping that in mind, especially if you're a man and you've been told that this is how you have to be. And if you're a woman, this is, how you have to be. Okay, so that being said, the positive or the superpowers of the sexual are they love sex, they love orgasms, they love genitals, they love nudity, they're fun to play with, and they can go from 0 to 60 very quickly. They're easy to arouse. They appreciate naked bodies. They appreciate the sexual visuals. That's what they thrive and love on. And again, it's the cultural norm. And they may not have much shame about sexuality, which is great. That's a superpower, not to have shame around your sexuality. Okay. Now, if we look at the sexual, again, there's going to be these shadow aspects. So the sexual can get too focused on the end goal because they want everyone to have the orgasm. Everyone must orgasm, that's what you have to do. And they may get upset if orgasm doesn't happen for everyone involved. They can sometimes get self-focused and really clueless to what their lover needs, especially if their lover is not a sexual themselves. And because they have such a straightforward view of sexuality, they can have a very limited definition of what sex is. So an energetic sex might be, this light hovering, not even touching them kind of thing. And that might just be sending them into rapturous, orgasmic fields of delight, where a sexual is like, but there's no nudity, there's no penetration, there's no orgasm, there's no orgasm from penis and vagina, or vagina, penis. I don't get it. So they can be a bit narrow. Okay. And also because they love the genitals so much, the genitals can be their main focus. And as any person who can tell you who's not a sexual or not a sexual blueprint, the whole body is an erogenous zone, the whole body, not just the genitals. And also the sexual shadow side is that they're the blueprint that's at the most risk for patterns around porn or porn type sex or needing that. Okay. So again, I want to be clear that when I'm sharing the superpowers and the shadow, none of these things are bad or good. It's just how they can sometimes show up in us, and they're interesting to take note of. Okay. So so far we've had energetic, sensual, sexual. Maybe you've heard yourself in some of these, maybe not. We still have 2 more to go. Maybe you've heard yourself in all of them. Okay. Now the 4th one is kinky. Okay. And by kinky, I'm not talking about S&M or BDSM, although that might come into the kinky blueprint. That's not necessarily what kinky means in this version of blueprint typing. So kinky wiring has the naughty factor all over it. So what someone finds kinky is a really personal definition. What Steve might find kinky is, licking his pinky, like maybe that's really kinky for him. But see, there he goes. You can see him. That's just amazing for him. But, maybe kinky for me is wearing high heels, like it could be very, very different things. So it's very personal. But generally, what a person finds kinky is something that's perceived as out of the normal, right? And this may include things like spanking, humiliation, restraint, fantasy, role play, mind sex, anal play, any of it. And for some people, for example, some people enjoy anal play, but they wouldn't consider themselves kinky. But because if a person is kinky and that's really taboo, anal play, that could be kinky for them. Okay, so a kinky person, and by the way, I'm just going to make a little differentiation. In the blueprints, although there's kinky, there are two kinds of kinky. There's psychological and physical kink. Okay, and those are slightly different, although they still fall under the kinky blueprint. They're psychological, so you like the power play. Let's imagine, power play, and the physical might be, actual restraint or physical things. But those both fall under the kinky. Okay, so if we want to look at some of the superpowers of the kink, they are the most creative. They have the largest sexual vocabulary. And when shame is absent, so this is superpower, when shame is absent, they are the best at sexual communication. Okay. They're easy to turn on when when the right psychological or physiological buttons are being pushed. And they can use sexual play as a way to access altered states of consciousness or even healing. And some kinkies may not even have to have physical intercourse in order to reach those peak erotic states. Now, the shadow aspects, as I'm sure many of you can imagine, is shame, because it's taboo. So shame is one of the biggest ones for the kink. And with that can come a very specific fantasy or fetish can become their only route to turn on. And that may hide their kinky desires, and they have like deep shame. So that can be a problem when something, they can only lick their finger for orgasm, whatever it is, that's their only route to being able to turn on. And sometimes with the kink, they might need to risk going further and further and put themselves in danger if not educated about how to safely play in edgier territory. Okay, so those are some of the shadow sides of the kink. And I'd say the biggest one I've seen with kinky, like I said, is the shame. Okay, so those are four. And if you feel like, I'm a little bit of this one, I'm a little bit of energetic, I'm a little bit of sensual, a little bit of sexual, a little bit of kinky, I'm not really, none of those really describe me, then maybe you're number 5, maybe you're shapeshifter. So a shapeshifter, they're one of the more rare types of the erotic blueprints, meaning that they are fluent in all 5. They're fluent in all 5. And they have the qualities of the energetic, the sensual, the sexual, and the kink. And the shapeshifter requires all these types to be satisfied. Okay, maybe they enjoy 1 or 2 on occasion, or 3, but to really feel fed, they have to have all of it. Okay. And the shapeshifters, what's interesting, and by the way, shapeshifter, because if you're a shapeshifter, you can have all the superpowers of all of the blueprints, but you can also have all of the shadows of the blueprints. You can have all the shadows of the energetic, you can have all the shadows of the sensual, the sexual, the kinky. But I don't want to make a shapeshifter sound like they are any way superior to any of the others. It's not that, it's not that at all, because actually we have all of the blueprints within us. We have all of it. It's like yin and yang. We have both yin and yang within us, but sometimes at some points we are more yang, we are more yin. We pull on these different things. We are more fluent. We're more dominant in one than the other. The shapeshifter, however, just has the ability to be fluent in all of them. Okay, so when we look at the superpowers of the shapeshifter, they're fluent in all of them. They're extraordinary lovers. They're never boring. They're able to become the fantasy lover. They love variety. They crave creativity. However, when we want to go and look at the shadow side of the shapeshifter is that they may never find their own sexuality and be truly fulfilled, because they're always shifting to someone else's pleasure. By the way, I'm a shapeshifter, and I was very guilty of this for a very long time, not really understanding my own, because I was just, oh yeah, I can do, oh yeah, I can play there, I can do that. So it's this inability to truly understand your own, because you're always moving and shifting. So regarding compatibility, they're great for all types, but if a partner only speaks one language or one blueprint type, they can get bored really easily. They can get really bored. So again, the shadow side is that they can have all the positives, like I said, all the superpowers, but they can also have all the shadows, which, you know, that's a lot to have to work through if you're in that frame. If they don't learn to ask for what they want, they can become chronically dissatisfied. And lastly, their partners may feel that they're not able to ever arouse their shape-shifting partner because it changes all the time. You know, what worked 2 hours ago isn't going to work right now, because it's always, you know, the shapeshifter is always changing and shifting. And so for a partner, it can be a little bit frustrating. Okay, so I've just kind of thrown a whole lot out at you. And that was a big bleh. So I'd love to hear, after hearing those 5, where do you think you are? You know, could you identify with 1 or maybe 2? Okay, 1 or maybe 2. So I'll remind you, there's the energetic, which is space, tease, anticipation. There's the sensual, which wants all of their senses to be delighted. There's the sexual, straightforward, direct, nudity, penetration, orgasm. There's the kinky, anything taboo is what's turned on. And the shapeshifter, which is all of those. Okay, so I'm just reading here. We've got shapeshifter, energetic, sensual, energetic, shapeshifter. Oh, you've done the quiz maybe. Energetic, sexual, taken Jai's chest, great. Shapeshifter, sensual, great. Sensual, shapeshifter, both shapeshifter, energetic, great. I'm so glad that this is landing, that you're able to begin feeling into what you might see in yourself. Because if you're working with clients, if you're working as a coach and you're working in the realm of intimacy, or even if you're not working in the realm of intimacy and you're coaching someone and their relationship and their intimacy comes up, one of the most common things that I hear as a relationship and intimacy coach is, we're not compatible. We're just not sexually compatible. People just, and I'm like, I don't know if you can see my body just, ugh, you know. I'll put the quiz in the chat, everybody. I'll put the quiz where you can take that in the chat in a moment. And there's this sort of like, well, I guess this is just how it is, when actually it's, if I'm speaking, you know, American or English, I'm speaking English, not American. That sounded really not great. If I'm speaking English and my partner's speaking Japanese, and neither of us speak that, of course it's gonna feel like we're not compatible. But if I can learn, you know, a few words, and if he can learn a few words or she can learn a few words, then all of a sudden we can start talking to each other. We can start understanding, okay, I get it. Like, he or she doesn't want me to go straight to the genitals. That makes sense. They need this, that, and the other before it happens. Okay, so now I want to take you through and just give you a few things around what feeds each of them. Okay, so if you're feeling in starvation in any of these, not to worry, I'm going to take you through and help you feed yourself, understand what's feeding you. And as I go through and tell you what's the things that feeds the blueprints, I'll give you a little somatic thing as well for each of them. Okay, so I'll give you a somatic thing, because each of the blueprints, they're fed by something different. The languaging, the way we speak. If you're ever trying to figure out I can usually tell someone's blueprint just by how they speak. Like I can tune in, I can hear the words they're using, and I think, aha, I bet they're sensual. You can even sometimes tell by the way someone dresses what their blueprint is. So yeah, there are ways to learn how to speak, to touch, and heal our blueprints. So if you're in the shadow of any of these things, I don't want anyone to feel bad if you're feeling, oh my God, I can't stand sexual fluids. Like there are ways to begin working with these things and healing our shadow. So if you felt like you're in the shadow of any of these things, I don't want anyone to feel like, oh, this is too much. I'm in the shadow of every blueprint or whatever. Okay. So the energetic, what the energetic is fed by, and the touch, the somatic that goes with it, is light hovering touch. So everybody, if you're game and you want to show a bit of forearm, and if you've got thighs, because it's summertime, you can do this on your thighs, but I'll do my forearm because this is what you can see. So if you take and start really high up, my hand's all the way off my computer screen, you can't even see it, and I want you to really super slowly begin taking your other hand towards your forearm, really slowly, taking lots of time to get there. And if you're an energetic, you might have felt your other hand when it was way up, raised high. You might have felt it up there. And really taking your time to come down towards your other forearm. And as you do, you can lightly touch, but you're just touching like the tips of your hair follicles. Just a light, hovering, barely there touch. Just notice how that feels for you. So even if you did not identify as an energetic, maybe that touch feels good for you. Because like I said, it's not just what we think, but it's how does our bodies respond? Okay. So that's any kind of touch like that is going to feed the energetic. So you can think of feathers or really light things that give that really light dancing sensation anywhere on the body. And I'm just using forearms because that's what I have access to. But they want that anticipation, the waiting, the long lead. Like an energetic is going to love like a text that's teasing them about maybe what's to come later, but they don't know. Maybe they don't even know what time you're coming home. Like there's something teasing about that. So anything where it's teasing, creating anticipation and space, there's space. And what really gets an energetic off is deep emotional connection and intimacy. Okay. So anything like energy games, visualizations, tantric practices would be great for an energetic. So those are just some things for the energetic. Okay, so now the sensual. What feeds a sensual? A sensual might often need what are called toggles, or things that help them shift from their daily life into their sexual life. So that might mean a massage, a hot bath, cleaning the bedroom up, romantic dinners, dancing, something that gets them in their body before entering that. And what they need is peace of mind. So if you're a sensual and your partner is not, having peace of mind, having them address your fears periodically, that you're not taking too long. You can take as much time as you want. The things that help you stay present in your body. An intense sensation. So one of the touches for a sensual, so again, I'm going to use my handy little forearm here. A sensual is going to like a full hand. And again, if you can try this, you can try this at home, try it on your forearm, your thigh, whatever you have, but they're going to want that full hand. They want to feel as much contact. So it's probably what you would imagine if you've ever had a massage before. That's the kind of touch a sensual one. They want to have as much contact and feel and squeeze in their body. Okay. So anything that's a toggle that gets them out of their head and into their body. And again, that full sort of sensual, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just this, it's like feeling the whole hand. They don't want the light hovering touch. They want the whole hand. Okay, so let's go to the sexual and tell you what feeds the sexual. This may be of zero surprise for the sexuals in the room or anyone who's ever dealt with a sexual. Direct genital attention. Go straight to the genitals. Erotic visual stimulus, oral sex, intercourse, nudity, and having sex frequently. Now the touch, so again, you can try this at home, and if you have your camera off, that's fine. If you want to try, take your hands and touch your genitals, wherever whether it's your breast, whether it's your genitals, whatever, just grab yourself if that's what you want to do, and notice how that feels for you. So the touch is straight to your genitals, straight to your sexual organs, whether it's your breast, your penis, your vagina, or anything, any of the above. Okay. So that's the sexual. Now the kinky, this is going to depend as well if you're a psychological or physical, but anything, again, they're going to be fed by anything that's outside of their personal box, creativity, and pushing edges and overcoming obstacles. That's what a kink likes. Now, if you want to try to see if you're by sensation, again, you can use your trusty forearm, give a tight grip, and try to resist. That's like, kinkies really want, if they're a physical one, they're going to want to resist and feel like they're fighting against something. You can try this with your partners if you have partners or friends, but it's that feeling of being restrained, contained, and that's kind of a quick touch for the kinky. Okay. And there's more to it. I mean, obviously there are lots of different ways that you can, or if you're feeling really up for it, I'm wearing a dress, so I can do this. You can't see I'm wearing a dress, but you can take your hand and give your thigh a nice little slap and see how that feels. That would, again, that's another way. So it's that restraint, that slap, give it a try if it feels good. Okay. So the shapeshifter, what feeds the shapeshifter? Variety and creativity. Okay. So what feeds them is owning their pleasure and finding what their pleasure is. Okay. Not pleasing others, but pleasing yourself while pleasing others. Now, there's sometimes, like I said, they like the challenge. Shapeshifter likes the challenge of unlocking the secrets of what their lovers, likes or dislikes are. Okay. And I can't get into this too much here today, but there's also what's called stacking the blueprints. And a shapeshifter likes that, which means where they start from the point of before they're aroused, during peak arousal, and then after arousal, they might need to be fed in different blueprints. And a touch sensation, if you want to again do a touch sensation with a shapeshifter in mind, it's like doing two different touches at once. Because I only have two hands, I can only do two different ones at once. So I could do a scratchy one, which would be like a kinky one. And then on this one, I can do a light one. So I can scratch myself with one, and on the other, I can do a nice light touch. So it's combining the different touches. Okay. So again, I know I did a whole load dump of different things for each of the blueprints. And I think we might have just a couple minutes for any questions, for any of the questions. I'm sure there might be some questions about the blueprints. What was the psychological feed for the sexual? It's the kinky. It's the kinky has the psychological or the physical, not the sexual. So the feeding, the kinky, again, it could be a power play thing, creativity, variety, and then if it's physical, then it's using different physical things. Can you talk about working with people in this like a case study? How do you mean, Laura? Do you mean like couples who like maybe one person was energetic and another was sexual, and then how they met each other? I'd be curious to know how you mean, but if that's, I'll speak to that while maybe you type into the chat. So for example, if you're an energetic and your partner's a sexual, those two are pretty far apart, because, the sexual wants direct, go straight to your genitals, where the energetic is like, not so much. And so with that, it's what's the energetic's secondary blueprint? What's the sexual secondary blueprint? Is there somewhere they can start meeting each other that feels safe? And so generally that's a way to begin getting two clients who are kind of not polarized, but maybe on sort of opposite ends of the blueprint spectrum. Is how can they start taking those baby steps? And sometimes it's just awareness, sometimes it's just awareness, like, oh, okay, I understand that that's what turns my partner on. It doesn't necessarily turn me on, but that's what turns my partner on. If my partner's turned on, therefore I'm turned on. So sometimes it's a little case of that. Can it change when you get in the menopause? Great question. In the women that I have worked with, I've seen generally your blueprints don't shift. However, in menopause, because your hormones are so different, yes, I can't say that I have thousands of people that I can say that I've definitely say that's happened for, but on an anecdotal level, I have seen that happen. But generally speaking, we arrive into these blueprints, and that's how we express. So we have the ability to expand into any of the other blueprints. So, if you're energetic, don't fear, you can play in the realm of the sensual, but it's about building that embodied range. And that's what these great courses are for. They help you begin in building this embodied sexual range for us to do more intense research ourselves and part. The thing with the blueprints is that Tony Robbins has a great podcast with Jaya, but most of Jaya's stuff is done, or the erotic blueprints is done through coaches. There's not a whole lot of stuff that you can do research on your own. I'll happily put the quiz in there. And if any of you, of course, have any questions, please feel free to reach out and contact me. And if I can help you, I'd be more than happy to. But most of the erotic blueprint stuff is done through the coaches. Okay, last question. Let's see. For women, it might change with menopause. And for what about men? Do they change around 50? I've not seen that. I'm not saying that doesn't happen. I think the hormonal shift for women tends to be bigger. And I've seen it there. Would non-monogamy classify as an aspect of a shapeshifter? Not necessarily. So would non-monogamy classify as an aspect of a shapeshifter? Not necessarily. I know a lot of non-monogamists who are energetics, actually. Is it available no, it's only in English. So the erotic blueprints is trademarked and licensed, and it's only available in English. But I'll put the quiz here in the link for you guys. And Steve, is there I don't know how many minutes I have. I feel like my clock is ticking and the time bomb's gonna go off.
So what I'll do is I'll come back to Jamie at the end for the top 3 takeaways from this session, as she drops like a link there. And also just say thanks to Jamie, and everyone, please type in the chat any of your takeaways from this session, something you can bring out of it, whether it's, actually I'm not going to suggest anything because I've got ideas, but yeah, so put anything in the chat there that you want to take out of this session that would actually be useful for you in your life. And if you want to dive deeper into obviously relational stuff, intimacy stuff, that's what the course is for. So this week sessions are great because you actually get a taste of it, an 80-20 taste of what you can do. But if you want to bring that change into your life with peer groups, with Adam and Christina leading you every week in different time zones, with an actual course, with a whole heap of pre-recorded stuff that's released as it goes, and that's what the course is about. So there's going to be a replay weekend. This weekend, you'll be sent the links to the replays, and so you can go back into there, get the stuff that you missed, and then that gives you a bit of time to decide if it is actually something you want to bring into your life and something you want to change. So if you decide to do that, half price offer expires early next week, so it's after the replay weekend. And also the first 100 people to buy will get the opportunity to go into a draw to win one of 4 one-to-one coaching sessions. Those sessions are either with Christina, Erica, Patricia, or Mark. So if you're right now, you're going, actually, yes, I do want to buy that course, or you're kind of on the fence and you think that would tip it for you, there are those sessions there. So you get a free session. If you're in the first 100, 4 of those first 100 will win a free session. So feel free to share this event with your friends if they want to get the replay, or if you're already set on the course, you can go across and buy that and enter that competition, because there haven't been 100 people buying it yet. It's been very few. So if you are interested, like as well, if this has helped you and you want to thank us, you can also get the course, just because it takes a lot to put these on as well. So I'm going to show you a little bit about what's actually in the course. Let me bring that up here. And there's also 2 parts of the courses, so I'll actually show you that as well. So there's the course for everyday people, which has 8 weeks with Adam and Christina. And there's the course for coaches and facilitators. And so that course is actually for people who are working with people around intimacy, with relationships. And bring it here so you can see what I'm doing. So that course has 6 weeks, 2 sessions a week with different guest teachers. So with that, sorry. Let me just tell you about it, because things aren't working today, are they? So if you're interested in that, there's different sessions each week. So there's a week on trauma with different coaches there. There's a week on authentic relating, non-violent communication. You'll have some master coaches coming in like Abudi Shabi, Curtis Watkins. We'll have Patricia doing some stuff. Mark will be there at the start. Jamie's going to hopefully come in and do some stuff. Maybe, not guaranteed yet, but hopefully she'll be doing a little bit of stuff. So there's going to be a whole heap of coaches coming in for that. And it's for coaches and facilitators and teachers who don't exactly have a deep grounding in sort of intimacy and relationships in their practice. So if you find yourself getting asked those sorts of questions in what you do, and you aren't always quite sure, that's what this course is for. So that's the one which has, there's the 3 offers, and the one which is about that. Try and bring it up for you. So there's 3 different offers. There's the one for everyday people, there's the one for coaches and facilitators, which includes everything from the everyday people. And then finally, there's a master sort of lot, which includes coaching sessions as well. So when we come back to Jamie, I'll just show you those quickly. So they're the 3 packages. Everything comes with live tutorials, live practice groups, your own peer groups, and has it in different time zones. So this is the master package. This one's for general coaches and facilitators, and the most popular one. And then it's the personal package. But all of those come with going into the draw to win 1 of 4 free sessions if you get any of those. So Jamie, come back to you to give your final 3 takeaways.
Great, thank you. And by the way, if you wrote some questions in the chat, I tried to type in very quickly and tried to answer them as best I could. So yes, my 3 top tips or takeaways. I think the very first thing is presence and awareness. That's what's going to make you the best lover for yourself or anyone else. The ability to have presence and awareness, whatever that means or looks like to you, but having something that helps build that within yourself. Because if you are present, then you are congruent in your body, and you're congruent with your partner. So I guess that's maybe 2 for the price of 1. So presence and awareness. The second one is to remain curious. You know, curiosity doesn't kill the cat in this case. Curiosity is what helps keeps things really alive for yourself, for your partners, for future partners. And the third one, which goes with curiosity, is not to take yourself so damn seriously. Like, sex is supposed to be fun and enlivening. Not supposed to be, that makes it sound like I should, but it can be. And if finding a way to find and tap into that playfulness and not get stuck into the, oh, I'm too fat, I'm too this, I told I was supposed to look like that, or I'm supposed to feel like, if we can let go of all of that and tap into presence and awareness, you know, what feels good for me, even if it, you know, I'm told it's not supposed to. So I'll sum that up. Presence and awareness, number 1. Number 2, curiosity. And number 3, don't take yourself so damn seriously. So those are my top 3 when it comes to relationship and intimacy. And thank you, everybody. You've been such a great group. I know it was a lot of information dumping, but I feel like that's the best way to get it out there so you can take away and use it.
All right, great. Thank you, Jamie. And I will actually be going back and watching this session tonight with everyone. So really appreciate it. And I'll unmute everyone if they want to say goodbye. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Languages.
Great. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.